Good morning, everybody, and welcome to Community Connection. We already have a good time before the show ever starts.
Yes, we do.
And we were already teasing the Melvinator,
Oh, yeah.
which I think we're going to change it to the Sleepinator.
Come on.
She does drag herself in, doesn't
Yeah,
she?
just literally dragged herself in just a moment before this thing started.
Not all of us can have your beautiful dance moves before the broadcast starts, Mr. Day.
But she'll want her full paycheck, though. You guaranteed it, right?
Hey, I was here before 9. That's all that mattered.
But it was the coffee's problem.
It was.
The system failed me. I didn't get my coffee in time. Jeez.
Wow.
All right. Well, glad you could join us this morning.
It's an honor.
Good morning, Claudia.
Good morning, Robert J. Day.
How are you?
I'm good. I noticed you're powerful and grounded. Those are the words that
you
were
just
up
now
with
noticed-
your face.
you just now
Powerful
noticed?
and grounded. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's good.
it is good.
And you notice that I'm not up there at all, which is strategic, I'm sure.
It was. So we got a cool guest today, huh?
We do.
And a lot of folks probably don't know much about our guest or the important role that she plays here at Patrick Henry Family Services. So why don't you introduce us to her?
All right, this is Rachel Lee, and she is important. And we're going to learn some things about you today. So let's start with just telling us what is it that you do in your role from day to day, and give us a little insight.
Thanks, Claudia. So I'm the project manager for donor engagement, and what that means is I am fully behind the scenes. I am making sure that things get done, making sure that Project A is moving to finalizing. That's basically what I do with donor engagement. Keep our team accountable, keep us on track as best as we can.
And everybody needs a you. Every team needs
I
somebody
agree.
that does that, right? Everybody needs
Absolutely.
somebody. In fact, I'd kind of like to clone you and just have you live in my head, and then you could make sure I do all the things I'm supposed to do and keep
I don't
track
know
of
if I
them.
want to live in your head.
Yeah, most people don't, I'm pretty sure. But
I don't want to live outside her head, so.
wow.
Well, you started it, so.
I called you grounded and
Powerful.
powerful and grounded. And
All
that's
right, let's
that's-
move back to
okay.
Rachel Lee.
So, Rachel, you can work anywhere doing with your skill set, I know, because you have people need people like you. Everybody does. So what is it about Patrick Henry Family Services and our vision that would tie into who you are as a person? So give us a little of your background and then why this resonates with you.
So something a lot of people don't know about me is when I was about 20 years old, I was called to adopt. Still haven't adopted. But when this job became available, a good friend of mine, Sarah Phelps, who also works on our team, reached out and said, this would be perfect for you. So when I read more about Patrick Henry, because let's be honest, I've heard the name, I hadn't really dove into what you guys did, and I saw you help children. And I have a passion for helping people and helping children, and that really resonated with me, to be able to be part of a team that is doing something to make this world better.
Okay, you do realize that you just told the wrong person that you've been called to adopt,
I know.
because I'm going to make it happen.
I've kept it quiet. I think my husband's watching today, so
Good.
yeah.
Get ready, buddy, because it's going to happen. Okay. So we also know, and maybe not everybody knows, but you kind of took the lead on this impact event we had a few weeks ago. So tell us why you would want to take on a project like that.
Well, to be honest, it would look great on my portfolio,
Okay.
but I was up for a challenge. So I've led events before. I've been involved in smaller events, probably about 100 people max, and I saw this as, okay, 250 people, a chance to support an organization that I am passionate about. So I just wanted to raise my hand and say, let's get this done.
Okay. So, and feel free to interrupt me, Mr. Day, if you have any
Thank
questions.
you. Okay.
Tell us, let's pretend like the event hasn't happened yet and we don't know how it turned out. What were some of the things that you were hoping as a team that would be the result of bringing these people together?
I was hoping we would first make new connections, new relationships with people who weren't as familiar with us or even familiar with us. So that was my first hope. I was concerned originally with the model we followed because I wasn't familiar with it. But so that was number one. Number two was we'd make our senior leaders proud. I didn't want to, as well as our committee, didn't want to put on an event that you guys would walk in and just, really. So to make you guys proud, but then also make our coworkers proud, to be proud to be in that room, to be confident that they could speak to people at their table about bringing in money, because we're the main people who talk about bringing in money for this organization. So we had to give everyone a safe space and a good space to be able to do that. So that's what I was envisioning.
Well, let me voluntarily say that as a senior officer, I was very proud to be in that room and proud that we were representing ourselves to a room full of very diverse people. So one of the things that I really struck out at me at this year's event was we had a variety of people, and our model is so different, right? These were people who engage with us at various levels of financial commitment, rather than us just focusing on, quote, the big giver, right? We want people to just be engaged. And it was as much about learning about us, and the ask to volunteer was just as clear, if anything, because that's even more valuable to us in many ways than financial gifts. So I was proud of the whole thing. I know you were too, right, Claudia?
I don't even notice what things look like. Really, I don't. But when I walked in, I was like, this is beautiful. I loved the color scheme, and I just thought it looked so nice. So walking in to see that was just, the first impression was amazing.
And you guys did some bold things.
We did. So there has
And did the bold things pay off, you think?
Well, that's not where we're at in this conversation.
Well,
but
I've already asked it, so now don't give me permission to ask questions, and then I can't ask them.
we definitely did some bold things. The first thing was our meal.
Yeah.
We kept it a secret, but oftentimes when you go to a nice event, you have chicken or beef or a piece of seafood. We decided to do breakfast, and I remember the day that we started talking about it, we were like, really? We're going to take this big of a chance? But reason being, kids love breakfast, and we had decided this was going to be like a whimsical child experience. And so we took a chance. It was received well, and it wasn't received well. But I think people will be talking about it for a while.
See, for me, what I appreciate about all of that is, one is that you guys were willing to take a chance on something and to kind of be innovative. And we at Patrick Henry tend to be on the innovative side of things. And I think always calling back to what children want, what children need, what children like, there's nothing harmful in that. I think people are trying to go, that's not what we usually see in an event like this. I'm not sure how to do it. Others caught it right away. As far as I'm concerned, we have breakfast every time. But I'm not always the boss here, so.
And I think remind people of the impact of poverty experience and why that was a part of an event that never has had anything like that. What was the motivation of having that be part of the program?
So from the very beginning of our planning committee, we wanted the night to be different with everything that we did. So we sat down, we started planning how the night would go. And right away we knew we needed an experience. We had thought about the passport thing. We had thought about having all the ministries set up and just, you have to go talk to them, win a prize. And I can't remember whose idea it was. It might have been Sarah's or Rob's, to have Nicolette come in and talk about what Care Team could offer. It gave us an opportunity to bring in another ministry of Patrick Henry and show what they're capable of. So when Nicolette came in, she walked us through what she could do, and we were like, yes, because that's who we're here to serve. We're here to serve the single mother, the single father who is struggling. And it's a powerful experience that I think everyone can relate to at one point in their lives. And that's what made us decide to go that route.
So it was intended to be an experience more than just the same old, right? You guys
Absolutely.
wanted people to feel something different than they feel when they typically go to one of these dinners.
Absolutely. That whole night was meant to be different. It was meant to be, as soon as you walk in the door, you just felt like it wasn't your typical black tie event. Our decorations were balloons. Who decorates a nice black tie event with balloons? But then you walk into the room and there's toys. And we did have a couple kids there that night because of the stories, and I don't know if you noticed, but they were playing with the toys, which was perfect. And then right away, you step into this experience, and I think it just puts you in a place to take in the rest of the night. So we wanted people to come away with, wow, that I feel different. We didn't want it to be a typical, you sit down, you hear people speak, oh, I can support that. It was, we wanted you to also feel what you were supporting.
Good. Now, before reeling, I think you forgot to mention that you did have a fundraising goal. So before telling us whether we met it or not, let us know what the goal was and how it was constructed. I mean, was it just donations that night? Was it sponsors? How did you come up with that goal, and how much were you hoping to raise?
So we had a couple different goals. One was a budgeted goal. Everyone gets that. You got to talk budget. Another one was a goal to help offset the expenses that we had spent for that evening. And we were pretty frugal when spending for that night. We did the best we could to make sure it was affordable. And so we set that goal. We had a goal of people. We had a goal of potential new allies as well. And Allies is our monthly giving program. So the goal for that night was $100,000 that helped offset the expenses. And we had a goal of obtaining, I think, 10 new allies, which that side of the goal actually hasn't been talked about till just now, now that I think about it. But that was part of our goal. And we did meet both, but I didn't know if you'd want to talk about the drum roll.
Well, I think the drum roll is going to be this commercial we're going to go
That's true.
to.
So this would be a great time to do that.
Yes,
So
and then
let's-
we'll come back and find out
Yeah.
about how many allies and stuff, because I don't think that's in the video. But let's.
It's not.
So let's roll the tape.
Welcome everyone here tonight. Such a special event, such a beautiful mission, and something that has brought all of us together to be able to acknowledge that this work is admirable and in need of further support.
Well, everybody knows I'm not real good at math, but I'm pretty sure that means we surpassed our goal.
Just by a little bit.
Yeah. Congratulations.
One thing I want to add that I feel like was unique for that night was staff participation. As you watch that video, you just see so many different staff members from this organization come together to make this event possible. And we can always use more. But from our committee, we had different ministries represented. We had different committees. And then that night, we had so many different people step up and say, I'm here to help. and I'm here to be a table captain. I'm here to help with registration. And I found that super unique as well. I don't know if all organizations have that, but we did. And that made the night successful.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But first, tell me how many allies. You said your goal was 10. Do you know how many you have?
I
New
want to
allies?
say 23.
Really?
That's good. That's good.
That's amazing.
It might be 20, but 20 to
It's
20.
At least 20. So you doubled that goal.
We did.
And then attendance-wise, you were pretty close, right, to the goal?
About 225.
And the goal was,
250.
all right, so pretty close,
Pretty
right?
close. We had one table that wasn't full, but I think that helped with spacing issues.
Right. So,
Now, the reason the allies is so important as a goal is research has showed that a monthly giver is like 6 times more valuable to an organization than an annual giver, right? And so that's why we really promote that a lot, isn't it?
We are definitely trying to.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, good job.
and
Rachel.
this may be something, I didn't ask this earlier, but do you know how many people that gave that night were new donors that had never given before?
40 to 50.
Wow.
Yeah. So that's giving units, right? So if you look at that, that's like almost at least probably half of the people that were there that night were new to donors, which is huge because new donor acquisition is another donor engagement term that's really important. And I think that event was able to do that. So let's start. I just kind of think it would be fun to go through all the different people who had to be involved to make this possible. So if we go to the very beginning, the first step is the committee. So remind me of who all was on the committee.
So myself and the donor engagement team, so Wendy Adams, Sarah Phelps, Michaela Bryan, Trinae Tweedy, and we had a couple other people that came and went with donor engagement. Then we had Jacob Vanderbleek, Sue England. I feel like I'm forgetting someone.
Oh, Rob was there for
Rob.
a while.
Yes. How can we forget the Rob Meister?
And were there other people from other ministries there? or
So
didn't-
that was our planning committee.
okay.
From there, we had a volunteer committee.
Okay.
We also had a creative team committee.
Okay.
And we had a decorating committee.
Okay.
So Trinae led out the decorations. And on that committee was Sue, Deb Conklin, Taylor, the Melvinator.
Melvinator.
I sat in, but I don't contribute much to the details. Volunteer, Sarah led that out, sending out, help us out. And then the creative team led by Rob and Liam and doing all the amazing things. So we had those committees. We had a bunch of different things moving at once.
Okay. So then your next step is to recruit table captains. So tell us some of the the variety of people that you had serving as table captains.
So the members, and we had 9 that stepped up and said, and then that night we had several members, and we had 9 that stepped up and said, and then that night we had several other board members in the room.
Sure.
And then we asked each ministry to fill a table. A couple ministries filled 2, which was fantastic. And then from there, that was about all of our tables. We had a couple other people who were significant to the organization that stepped in to be table captains as well. And then we also had partners, so corporate partners. Our presenting sponsor, Osterbein Law, filled 2 tables. We had several other sponsors that came in and filled their tables as well. So Pinnacle Bank,
Iron and Nail.
Iron and Nail, the Kazuski team, they came in and filled their tables, and that helped us out significantly. And to be honest, I was very nervous about that. You sell tickets, you know how many you've sold, and hopefully people buy in because they haven't put any money in, and the buy-in was incredible.
Yeah.
So
I would say to any of you Patrick Henry staff who are thinking, the last thing I want to do is sit on a committee and plan an event. That would be me. Drudgery zone for sure. Frustration. I hate event planning, but it's so fun to invite 3 or 4 couples to sit with you and have dinner with a purpose so they can hear more about what you do. Being a table captain is a great way. Plus, you get to go to the event, you get to experience it, you don't have other responsibilities outside of that. So I'm sure next year we'll be hoping for some table captains, right, that would be able to step in.
Oh, absolutely. Table captains, committee members, we're already starting the planning process for next year. So if you're interested, reach out to me.
And the day of the event, you had a lot of staff folks.
We
I remember
did.
from the moment we walk in the door, we're greeted, welcomed. There's, people's taking pictures. There's just so many moving parts of this. And I was just impressed on how the whole thing was flowing. And I saw you at one point, you had a little tablet, and you were, so there was something other than what was going on in your mind that helped you keep track of all of that.
Yes, so I had a minute-by-minute day of schedule.
Yeah.
From when we were going to have lunch with all the decorators to when the next set of volunteers would come in. And then that night, Rob actually found a way to have a timer, and we had it on that tablet minute by minute. And when you got close to your time being up, it would start blinking red. So that was really helpful. But we had that day planned out to the minute.
Yeah. Well, kudos to you for leading such a great team and pulling that off so well.
And so, do you know how many people checked the volunteer? I'm interested in volunteering box. Do we
I
know?
do not, but I can get you that number.
And I know that Dan is busy following up on those volunteers. Talk to me about what the process was after the event as far as following up with people.
Absolutely. So, step one was just figuring out who gave, who didn't give. We put everyone who didn't give into a bucket, and Wendy and Trinae reached out to them to just be like, hey, thank you for coming. Anyone who made a pledge, which is a commitment of 2 years, we reached out to them. Everyone got a phone call. Everyone should have gotten a phone call, whether they gave or didn't. Everyone got a handwritten thank you note for that night. And then now we're in the process of following up with all of our pledges and making sure that they are brought into the Allies of Hope program. And we'll start getting that monthly newsletter that is strictly for allies, and a sticker. You get a sticker for being
sticker.
allies. And they'll just have regular communication from Sarah, and we'll keep up with them, and we'll follow up on their pledges to just make sure they stay current.
Cool.
What I really like about it, we're super excited about the final income raised in this. But again, I go back to the engagement of the folks, right? There were new folks there who had never given before. There are people who thought they knew about us as an organization, but found out there's a whole lot more to us than what they maybe have thought in the past. But then there's the spirit of the night and of the stories and of who we are as an organization that I think is changing the mind of the community about who we are. And so the value of that is way more than what we raised, or certainly more than we put into that. And so I'm just so grateful for your leadership on that, for one, and for all the staff who were part of that. Every one of you played an important role. So this was a big deal. I mean, a really big deal.
So as we wrap up, let's talk about next year.
Okay.
And first, you can give us a little some of your ideas about next year, and then you can look at that camera and convince the audience that this is something they're not going to want to miss next year, and explain to them again how they can get involved with all the planning or that night. And I think it's going to be something that is going to, as we do it year round, it's going to be something that any staff who weren't there are going to think, man, I really, really missed out. So what are some of the ideas that you guys are having for next year, and where are we heading?
So we're absolutely having an event, which is great. I have been mulling over some ideas. Very early stage of what can we do to top this? I don't know. So I'm open to ideas. Claudia's already offered to buy me lunch to tell me all of her ideas. But we're looking at an event in April. Again, most likely a Thursday night. We're still checking out a couple other venues. There were some, I don't want to say complications, some difficulties with our venue being downtown with the construction and hills and, not the most accessible. So we're at least looking to see what else is available. What was the other part of your question? I don't remember.
You're going to look at the camera and you're going to tell them all about how they want to get involved. But
first, let me just. So it may sound ungrateful, right? She just pulled off this great event where we raised over $129,000, and before she's even rested, we're saying, "So, what are you going to do for us next, Rachel?"
You got a plan. No, you got a plan. One of the hardest things for this event was we started too late in the planning process. I don't know if anyone knew that, because we had such a strong committee that helped us pull it off. There was no way it could have happened otherwise, that and the staff. So we will start planning in July. I have an idea of a date or an area time of dates, which means the table captain social will probably be end of January. And our SVPs will need to be in by beginning of March. So you want to be a table captain because this event is going to still be different. You might have been to fundraising events before, but we will continue to try to be different than other nonprofits. But also, you get to have an experience that other people might not be able to be there for. Unfortunately, we want to have all the staff there, but we can't because of space. So if you step up to be a table captain, you can absolutely be there. And hopefully your coworkers will tell you it's not hard to fill a table. We need our board members. We need full buy-in from everyone within this organization to make that night successful. That's why you got to be there.
So we do have just a couple more minutes. Let me ask you a question. What was your favorite moment of the night? I know you were probably just really super zoned in there, but there had to be something that was your favorite moment of the night.
Ashley McKenna. I had heard her story many times, and she had come here to share it. And that night, the spirit was just beaming from her. And I was able to stop and remember why we were doing this. All the stories were great, but that one just really resonated with me. And I
agree. It was pretty powerful.
Yeah.
I thought all the stories were well done, but yeah, it meant a lot. Just knowing her story and knowing her personally. So,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah. What was your favorite part of the night?
My favorite part of the night. I always love the Impact of Poverty event because I think, especially for people who've never participated in it before, you just don't think about life without a support system because most of us have one and we have a good one. And so when we get into a crisis, we have a list of people that we can call. And so just realizing how alone that mom was, and I think that's just powerful to have it sit with people to say, wow, I could be in that situation if I didn't have my support system, and maybe I should be a support system for somebody else.
All right. Well, as we wrap things up, let's go to the Melvinator and find out what her favorite moment of the night was.
Mine's a bit of a smaller one. Can they hear me?
Yes.
Are we good? Okay, cool. But I remember KJ, our photographer, was so excited about this one picture that he got. He came up, he ran up to all of us staff who were kind of hanging around looking for things to be done, and he was like, I got a picture of Sebastian, which is one of the sons of the people who were telling a story that night. Just a really sweet picture of him with his hands clasped during the prayer.
Yes.
I don't know, that one has just stuck with me. It was so simple, but a really sweet moment.
Yeah, that's cool. So tell our listeners, let's see, we're not going to be having Community Connection next Thursday, is that right?
Yes, correct.
We're going to be at all staff meeting. So for those who maybe have missed previous ones, how can they find what we've done before and some of our really cool guests?
Yeah, so all of our previous episodes are available on our YouTube page, Patrick Henry Family Services, or on our Facebook page of the same name. On YouTube, they're under the Live tab, and on Facebook, they are under the Videos tab.
And you know this because you are the social media guru here at Patrick Henry Family Services.
I try.
All right. Thanks, Taylor. All right. Thank you, Rachel
Thank you for having
and
me.
Claudia, as usual. Thank you.
My pleasure.
Yeah, we won't see you next Thursday, but the Thursday after that. Have a good week.
Nobody gets to choose their family. If a person is fortunate enough to be born into a healthy family, then life can be much like floating down a smooth, gentle river in the summertime. But an unhealthy family is like a dangerous river, filled with rocks, debris, and fast-moving water. This river swiftly leads to the steep waterfall of adulthood, tragically forming a new river of dysfunction. Even if you aren't born into an unhealthy river, there are many streams that cause a person to get there. But there is only one way to get out, and that is through a meaningful relationship. Across our region, there are many agencies, churches, and families who are devoted to helping children escape from unhealthy rivers. Some feel their role is to wade in and rescue children. They foster, adopt, or provide safe families. Others stand by the river and support the rescuers by providing what they need. Still, others are upstream and stand in the gap to keep children from ending up in the negative situations. At Patrick Henry Family Services, we see ourselves as having an additional role. We are running up and down the shores of the unhealthy river, screaming, "Can't you see the children in the water? You have to do something." Vision 30 is a 10-year initiative. By 2030, we envision a region where all children are safe in their own family, or with caregivers who are supported by a local faith community. So, where do you stand at the river? Are you upstream, keeping families together and strong by standing in the gap? Are you in the river, directly impacting children? Are you on the shore, providing support for the brave folks who have entered the river? Or are you just passing by without noticing? No matter who you are, come down to the river with us. Let us help you find your place. Not only will lives be changed, but you will never be the same.